They have died, but their bodies remain intact for up to 3 more years in the name of science. Over the course of almost a year, the Straits Times documented the journey of medical cadavers in Singapore. Let's take a look.
I just came home. He said, I want to tell you something. I said, what is that? He said, I have left to donate my body.
I think it's an incredible sacrifice. There was mention that he was going to be donating his body to science. And my mum mentioned it a few times as well. And I thought that was a pretty noble thing for someone to do.
Many of you would be asking by now why there is no body. Where is the body? Right? It's been donated to the NUS, Yong Lu Lin School of Medicine. Dad would often joke, once my heart stops, my body is like a dead pig in the market. Why not put it to good use?
Who knows what might come out of it, in terms of cancer research, in terms of research for a multitude of different illnesses, old age, how the body deteriorates. So I thought, yeah, that's a really great thing to do.
Now, that was an excerpt of a video done by photojournalists from the Straits Times. The role cadavers play in medical education is why those donated to the school are referred to respectfully as silent mentors. Now, here to tell us more, we have journalist Kelvin Young as well as photojournalist Mark Cheong. Hi, guys. Hi. Now, welcome to the show. Now, first off, it's a really stunning visual story and a peek behind the scenes where the public doesn't. The public usually doesn't get to see such information. Now, Kelvin, maybe we could start with you. How did you guys come to start on this project?
The project actually started earlier this year. Mm-hmm. So the entire idea began 2 years ago, actually, when we did a story with NUS on human cadavers.
Right.
So we wanted to expand on that story to focus on the donors, the human side of story. Who are these people? And their journey, the bodies, from their first lesson to the eventual sea burial and the cremation. So we thought it would be good to focus on the more touching aspects of the donation. Mm-hmm. So this year we started the process. It wasn't easy because there were a lot of things that we had to work around, but we are very thankful for the access that NUS has given us,
right.
And also the help that's given from the National Organ Transplant Unit and also the Health Ministry, because we knew that this story was not going to be a short one. We knew that it was going to be a long, emotional thing. So, and not just for us, but also for the donors and their families who have opened their hearts to help us. Mm-hmm. So what you see is actually a small part of what we have captured over the entire year.
Mm-hmm. On that note, Mark, what were some of your initial thoughts, when you first embarked on this project?
So initially it was a project by Chi Seong and Kelvin. So they got me on board to do videos for them. And I was immediately like, yeah, it's a no-brainer, you got to do it, because it was quite an intriguing topic for me. And it was also not just, I think the thing special about it was because we wanted to humanize the process, right? So that involved having to speak to various family members and not just skimming the surface.
Right.
By just showing the cadavers themselves. So it was definitely a sure shoe-in for that. And as to maybe looking at the cadavers for the first time, I think it wasn't super surprising, but it was more like the medical students were all quite calm and all that. So we went in and just did.
Yeah. Speaking of kind of a bit of what you mentioned about the taboos about this. Kelvin, your story highlights, how noble of a cause this is, but still there continues to be a lot of taboos surrounding body donations for science.
So death is still a taboo topic in many Asian societies. Some people, they believe that if an organ is missing, that person will not get the organ in the next life.
Right.
others are uneasy with the idea of sending off their loved ones without an intact body. So it's kind of extreme, in a way. But of course, the figures that we got, they are quite promising. So last year, more than 500 people have pledged to donate their whole bodies to science.
Right.
Whereas 10 years ago, you could only get about 30 such pledges. So these bodies, they go a long way to help others. So one of the donors that we featured, Mr. Hadil Singh, so his body alone helped in training more than 100 future doctors.
Wow. I mean, speaking of Mr. Singh, his decision to become a silent mentor was actually initially met with resistance from his wife, of course, but in hindsight, she's been convinced of its merits.
So his wife, Madam Sudesh, was quite uneasy initially because the idea of losing her husband, she couldn't accept it.
Right.
But when she knew of the benefits that the body would give to others, she was very receptive.
Yeah.
So when he died, his corneas were donated to a young girl and a lady in her 30s. And his body was later taken to the school where students learned from him. They took care of his body, they wanted to know more about him. Some of them even came down for the cremation. So I think it speaks well of future doctors. To them, it wasn't just a body, he was also a teacher to them.
Yeah. I think, thanks so much for coming on the show, for telling us a bit more about this, and really shining some light on these donations, which are actually normally done out of the public eye. So thanks for giving us some insight and a behind the scenes look. Now, of course, if you'd like to see the full story as well as pictures and video as well, you can always go down to our website. It's straitstimes.com. Now, those were the top stories of the day. For more news and videos, do head on down to our website at straitstimes.com. And once again, I'm Dylan, and thanks for tuning in. Join us tomorrow for more stories on The Big Story.